The main differences and demands between Biden and McCarthy on federal spending, domestic programs, social welfare, energy policy, and taxes. The U.S. is facing a looming debt ceiling crisis that could trigger a default on its obligations and plunge the economy into chaos. President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have been trying to break the deadlock with a series of meetings, but so far they have failed to reach a compromise. The two leaders have very different visions for the federal budget and how to address the growing deficit. Here are some of the key issues that divide them. Federal spending. McCarthy wants to cut domestic spending by $100 billion next year, then hold growth below the rate of inflation for the next 10 years. He says this is necessary to rein in the debt and restore fiscal discipline. Biden opposes such deep cuts, saying they would slash vital programs by 22% or more and hurt the recovery from the pandemic. He says he is willing to negotiate over some spending reductions, but not at the expense of his priorities. Domestic programs. McCarthy demands new work requirements on federal benefits for poor people, such as Medicaid and food stamps. He says this would encourage self-reliance and reduce dependency. Biden rejects this idea, saying it would harm millions of vulnerable Americans who need assistance. He says he is open to some reforms, but not ones that would undermine the social safety net. Social welfare. McCarthy wants to repeal Biden's ambitious green energy program, which aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and invest in clean energy sources. He says this would save taxpayers money and protect the fossil fuel industry. Biden defends his program, saying it is essential to combat climate change and create jobs. He says he is ready to discuss some modifications, but not ones that would weaken his environmental goals. Energy policy. McCarthy wants to lighten regulation of oil and gas drilling, especially on federal lands. He says this would boost domestic production and lower energy prices. Biden opposes this proposal, saying it would endanger public health and worsen pollution. He says he supports responsible development of natural resources, but not ones that would jeopardize his climate agenda. Taxes. McCarthy wants to preserve the 2017 tax cuts enacted by former President Donald Trump, which lowered rates for corporations and wealthy individuals. He says this would stimulate economic growth and competitiveness. Biden wants to partially reverse these tax cuts, saying they mainly benefited the rich and added to the deficit. He says he wants to raise taxes only on those making more than $400,000 a year and corporations that pay little or no taxes. He says this would make the tax system fairer and generate revenue for his spending plans.